Okay. Just getting my bearings here. Just finished up the 10 o'clock broadcast. This will be very, very relaxed. We're going to be just watching these storms come through here. You'll hear me typing at times. That's me trying to update to our social media platforms as best I can. So I'm going to just leave this for a second and see if I can't post some stuff to Facebook. Just so bear with me. I'll put this into motion right now. Just so you have the looping radar. And it's not. Here we go. Okay. That's what I wanted to do here. So 1 second, bear with me while I send some stuff out to Facebook. One second. Sorry, I'm not paying attention to the Facebook Live right now. I will start talking. I'm just trying to talk through this. I'm trying to get things up and posted to our feeds here, so people, see what's going on if they're not watching this live. And I'm just doing this real time. That's why I put the arrows on, so I could, indicate without movement to digital. So I'll take all of this stuff off, put this back into motion, and I'll make sure it's a slower loop here. So we can, talk about what's happening. Up front, we're going to be on this for a while, so settle in. 3 News Plus, if you want to watch this. Sorry, the microphone was way off over here. Thank goodness I didn't start talking yet. But I think we're good there. 3 News Plus, it's a great app to watch on your TV. So it's just like, you're watching a television show, everything Channel 3, YouTube, Facebook, big screen. Bigger the screen, the better in a situation like this. And, we're going to be talking about this bow echo for a while. So I'm going to stop the radar here and just point out the feature we're looking at. This is the bow echo that we're watching, and the reverse C structure to it, that is where that bowed out section is, that's where the strong winds within this cell are going to be. Again, it's warned in, right now, only in Jim Hogg County. That does include Hebronville, but the winds moving into Duval County are also going to be up there. Again, this has got 70-mile-per-hour winds with it and hail about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. And it's moving to the east, at my last calculation, at around 35 miles per hour. So we'll put a storm track on that. And time it out. So there's the track given the 35-mile-per-hour movement and to the east. You see the times, Freer, 11:30 or so. San Diego, before midnight. Falfurrias, before midnight. Alice, a little after midnight. Kingsville, 12:15. And it wouldn't be toward the coast until probably closer to the 1 o'clock hour. And again, the straight line wind with this feature in particular is going to be probably the biggest threat with it. We'll look at the wind data here. Got that pulled up. And it's also interesting to note here because these purple hues right here that you're seeing, that's really the outer edge of somewhat reliable data. You start getting way out. Here's the radar site. You know, we're 100 miles away. That's way out there. And we're going to be sampling this thing. And when I say sample, I mean the radar beam is going to be hitting that area of the storms at roughly 5,000 feet up. So as we're looking at this together, you know, I'm going to sample it, and you see the 50-mile-per-hour wind there that's showing up. So not maybe terribly strong, but it's 50 mile per hour on the wind speed. That's there, and that is showing up. There are strong winds moving into Hebronville right now. This is the velocity product of the radar. So the way to interpret this is that these green hues, they're all working toward the radar, which the radar is right there. Oh, I don't like that that's red. I'm going to change that. Get my white line, easy to see. So bear with me again. Just changing the color of the line so I can draw, do my thing. So, here's the radar. There's my white line. The wind, the green shades indicate wind blowing toward the radar. These red shades indicate wind blowing away from the radar, right? So all of those reds blowing away, out in the Gulf blowing in. So you have an easterly breeze onshore, and then you've got this bow echo that is going to be coming in and moving in the direction of the coast. That's the motion there. And again, it's warned right now for 70-mile-per-hour winds. That's why the storm is severe warned. And that warning is in effect for another 33 minutes till 11:30. Let's check the hail. See what's going on there. And I don't see much showing up on the hail. So it may be that the wind right now is the main concern with this storm. Okay, so yeah, there was a little bit. When we look at the looping motion, that's the severe warning. And you see those little blips of gray that show up. I'll just scrub the radar. When I say scrub, I mean I'm just like moving it back and forth really to find those. So there's the gray showing up right here. That's what I'm referencing when I'm looking for hail, is this little gray hue. Let's see. The radar was thinking that's about a ½ inch size hail. So the warning is for 3/4 of an inch. It was producing about ½ inch diameter hail. And it doesn't look like much with respect to hail is happening currently with that cell. So I'm going to go back to the radar. This is just resetting. This is the home view, if you will. And severe thunderstorm warning, again, in effect in Jim Hogg County, Hebronville. You're in the thick of it right now until 11:30. That cell is working through Jim Hogg County and Duval County. The strongest winds are going to be embedded within that leading edge of the storm. So this is the leading edge of this storm that is going to produce the most likely strong winds. When I say leading edge, that's it. And that's that reverse C. We call it the bow echo. When it looks like this, it looks fairly ragged. It doesn't look nice and smooth. So going to be paying very close attention to all aspects of this thing. Just want to make sure we catch everything. And the radar is really active right now. There's storms as we put this into motion. You see those storms that may undercut the bow echo. And I'm not totally sure how that's all going to interact with one another. It may just be that the bow echo plows through everything and just completely takes over those storms that are, I'll pause it so I can just really show exactly what I'm talking about. These storms here, shower and thunderstorm activity, those are moving northeast and will likely get through parts of the viewing area, Clayburgh, Jim Wells, Nueces counties, prior to this bow echo getting through. The bow echo is moving really fast, 35 miles per hour. We can get an updated time, and I do this the old-fashioned way. I just like to see where it was an hour ago. I'll put a little mark there. Where it is right now. So that's the distance within 1 hour's time. And it's still about 35 miles per hour. You see that? 35 on the speed. And again, that's, to me, the most accurate way of figuring out the speed of a storm is literally just look at the last hour and mark the 2 points, and that's your forward speed. So 35 miles per hour on that cell, the bow echo. I'm going to put another track on this, and again, the 35 is the speed that we're watching for when we time this out. So I have to set the computer to know that we're looking at 35 miles per hour. Make my arc. And I don't like going too far out, way out, because I don't know how it's going to be acting at that point. So I'm going to take it out. If you're watching along with us here, you see how on the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little clock. So it's at 57. That's an hour's time. I like to go out maybe an hour and a half at most to see, potential timing. So we'll time it, again, 35 miles per hour on the movement based on the most current readings. And there's the list. Rialitos, imminent, few minutes. Benavides, 11:23. This is when this bow echo is going to be coming in. Again, it is severe warned for 70 mile per hour winds. Freer, 11:30, very close. You're at the top end of this bow echo in Freer. Falfurrias, 1147. San Diego, 1157. Alice, 1207. Kingsville, 1217. Bishop, 10 minutes after that. And then you get closer to the coast. So you can interpolate, you can surmise that this is going to be approaching the coast probably during the 1 o'clock hour. And that's, where Corpus Christi's at. Although we're also, on the northern end of this, as we interrogate the radar a little bit more, the strongest winds with this are likely to be where the storm is bowing out, where you have that bulging motion in the storm. That's where the strongest winds are likely to be. So if there are those 70 mile per hour winds, the way it's warned for, that's the most likely section of the storm that is going to carry those winds that are very strong. And I'm looking on my personal radar app, which is just as good as the one that we're looking at here, but I'm a little more fluent with it. I'm quicker, so I'm just checking the wind speeds, and I'll show you on this software how the winds look with that bowed out feature, the structure there. And it doesn't look overly impressive, which is good news. We don't want damaging wind. This is all straight line wind too. It's not tornadic. Straight line meaning we're seeing all of the wind moving the same direction, right? So it's all going to be a west wind as this moves in. It's in Hebronville right now. It's not rotating. For the rotational aspect, I'm looking for little couplets along the leading edge here. So you would want to see more red pushing into this green. And there are some jagged features there, but I'm not seeing anything to the point of concern with respect to rotation. Sometimes you can get little areas of rotation along the leading edge of features like this. So I don't want to ignore that risk. As we sample the wind speeds, it's still at 50. Go right to the leading edge of this, 55. So those are strong winds. They're not quite severe. 37, 41. Again, I'm just trying to find the brightest green hues. Those are going to be the strongest. As you get out to this area where that purple starts showing up, that's the edge of where it starts to get unreliable, the data. So I'm not looking out here because these bright green hues are likely to be much farther up in the atmosphere. I'll show you. 56, it's still not rising to severe limits, and that's probably about 4,000 to 5,000 feet up. So wind may not be as strong as it looked coming out of Mexico and crossing the Rio Grande, which again would be great news. I'm just trying to make sure I've got everything up and posted correctly. It can get confusing when you're looking at all this stuff and trying to make sure you're accurate when you're typing things up. And it does look like it. So again, I'm just going to stay on this live feed as long as I need to make sure we get through this one safe. So 11:05, let's reset. Bring the view out, and you can really see the structure of that bow echo on the expanded view. The valley has gotten pummeled today. Some places over a foot of rain. This bow echo, just a fascinating structure out there. It's looking classic, looking textbook. That's that bowed out structure. On the top side of these, on this one right now, starting to see some wrap around the back side like that. That's called a bookend vortex. And that's just wind coming off the top and circulating around the backside. And what that does, I'll do this differently, is this motion right here coming off the top of the bow. So what's happening is that flow in here is helping to push and squeeze winds out and make that bowed structure. So that's called the bookend vortice, bookend vortex. And that's a classic symptom of a bow echo. Again, we do have this severe warning till 11:30, and that warning is for 70 mile per hour winds within that structure. And okay, now it's down to 60, so that was an update, down to 60 miles per hour, and the hail is 3/4 of an inch in diameter. So now we're starting to see a drop in the wind. That is also jiving with what we were just sampling. Do want to just check back in with the hail. Make sure we're not missing anything whatsoever. And again, I'm doing that thing where I'm scrubbing the radar. So I'm moving the timeline back and forth so I can see where the hail has been. I'll mark that. You see the arrow there, that little gray blob. It's been small. It's not been impressive. And that's still, 0.2 of an inch. So it's not a huge hail producer, which is good news for, if you got a car parked outside. Go back to the wind, because that looks like the primary threat at this point. So that looks like a little maximum there, 54. This is just below severe limits. It's close. So not seeing anything show up, but there is a little bit of a, right in here, right in there, it looks like a little maximum of wind, and that's where I'm trying to sample right now. So 55, I'm looking for the worst right here, and this is showing up 55 miles per hour. So we'll reset, and I'll set this to now. If you're watching from Duval County, from Jim Hogg County, anywhere west of 281, this bow echo is going to move into your locations within the 11 o'clock hour. If you're west of 281, and the main threat is going to be strong straight line wind. So it's going to be a big push, a wall of wind coming in from the west in conjunction with this feature. Doesn't look like a ton of hail. There will be lightning, there will be thunder, there will be heavy rain. Wind looks like the main threat with this structure in particular. Big rains in the valley. They are getting just smoked down there. I was texting with Tim Smith, local legend in the valley, and he was saying, man, they're getting it. They're getting a bunch of rain. They're the bullseye with this one. They've got some places over a foot of rain down there. So good hands with Tim Smith down in the valley. In our Coastal Bend neighborhood, our area, we're looking at this line of storms in conjunction with some activity moving in out in front of the bow echo. So I'm not completely sure how that's going to all interact with one another. My hunch is that the bow echo just plows through everything, and that's the lead feature. That's the strongest activity. That's how I see it playing out. And again, I'm getting updates to my phone, so sometimes I won't talk completely through this, but it looks like the severe warning has been dropped. That's great news. Great news. The severe warning has been dropped, but the winds are strong. I'm still seeing 50, 55 mile per hour winds within the leading edge of the storm. And when I say leading edge, I'm going to highlight it. That's it right there. That initial surge of wind accompanying the lead line of the storm. That's where the strongest winds within this stuff will be. Again, talked about this earlier, the bookend vortex, the wind off the top of this circulating around the backside, and that's helping to bulge out the structure of the line of storms, and that's why we're calling it a bow echo, because it's bowing out. It's taking on this reverse C type of structure. So it's literally like a bow and arrow, the bow echo shape there. Looking at the rain right now, it's fairly light through Corpus Christi and north of town. Again, there are showers and storms moving into Kennedy, Brooks counties as well. This activity is moving to the north out in front of the bow echo. Let's loop this. I'm going to try to answer questions in the comments. So we're on a 1 hour loop here. Oh, it's 3 hours. I'm going to change that. Let's go 1 hour loop. Make it go very slow. So I'm going to leave this up while I try to read some questions here. Zoom it out. Again, the severe warning's been dropped with it. Not going to time it out for Corpus Christi yet, but it would be, it would be probably closer to the 1 o'clock hour for Corpus Christi if it holds together. It looks like it will. Just I don't know how it's going to interact with the storms that are moving out in front of it. Those look to be moving a bit slower, so it's all just going to converge here over the next hour or two. And we'll see how it plays out. We'll be on the radar, so you'll know right away what's happening if something starts changing. Okay, trying to shuffle through all the commentary. Okay, so it looks like we'll just start back up, just talk like this is the first time we've been talking about it. So if you are joining, it is March the 27th, 11:15 at night. We are following a very active radar here. The main feature is moving through the brush country. It's west of 281, passing through Jim Hogg County, Hebronville, and moving into Duval County too. It's approaching the 281 corridor. That bow echo is moving east at around 35 miles per hour. The main threat with it is 50 to 55 mile per hour wind. That wind will be from out of the west. There is a low end hail threat with it, but the hail has been decreasing in size since leaving Mexico. I'm not seeing any hail currently. There is also heavy rain. There are frequent lightning strikes with that line of storms, and you're probably going to hear thunder with it. So let's time this out. We'll put this now at real time and just pause it. We can get a good handle on it. Again, we've got a 35 mile per hour movement, so that's how I'm setting the storm track here. I'm going to take the warnings off for right now because all we're seeing up here, just walking you through exactly what I'm doing. You see my arrow. These flash flood warnings, that's for the valley. That's all for the valley. That's outside of KIII country. These flash flood warnings, those are the warnings that we're seeing pop up here. So I'm going to take that off, the automatic warning query. So that's gone. I just want to be as clear as possible in terms of what we're tracking. That's the bow echo, that reverse C, and that's the strongest group of storms on the board right now by far. So storm track mode, time it out. Again, I'm just trying to draw this as precisely as possible. So there we are. Let's take it to the coast. This is 2 hours from now, but we'll just do it because I know there's questions. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to get to the coast as it is right now in its current state. Could be stronger, could be weaker. That's 2 hours from now. We've got a lot of time to watch it. And, you know, that's why I'm just going to make this point. When the Weather Service puts out these warnings, a severe thunderstorm warning, for example, it won't be really more than 30 minutes to an hour's time because the storms they're evolving all the time. So you can't just assume that this storm where it is right now will be the exact same as it will be if it makes it to the coast. Can't assume that. But we can somewhat assume timing if it does hold together, which would put that in Corpus Christi during the 1 o'clock hour, 1:15. And also to note here, that's for downtown. So that 1:14 time is for downtown, 1:25 for Flower Bluff. It wouldn't be till probably between 1:30 and 2 for the island. First things first, Freer, imminent, 1 minute out. Falfurrius, 11:56. You've got about 30 minutes or so. Alice, you've got 12:06. You've got about 45 minutes. Kingsville, 12:23. It's when it's expected to get into Kingsville, given the 35 mile per hour movement. Orange Grove, right up here. You're on the top edge of this. 12:36, so about a half hour after midnight. And then into Robstown, which is right in here. We're talking Robstown at 12:50. So this is all going to be approaching the coast between now and it'll be at the coast before 2 a.m. It's currently 11:20. I know there's questions about this. I have not updated this map since the 10 o'clock broadcast, but I'm just going to show it to show where we are on the rain. Let it load. The computer's loading right now. So I updated this at 9:30, and on this map, I'm doing this all by hand. I'm going and seeking out this information and putting it on by hand. Our forecast leading into this event was for 3 to 6 inches of rain. I'm fairly happy with how the totals have panned out. If you've been watching these Facebook Lives or 3 News Plus, YouTube, wherever it is you're watching, I was saying the whole time, we're conservative. We are under where a lot of these really high forecasts are. I saw some pushing 15 inches here. That's happened but down in the valley. That happened down in the valley, not here. So we were widespread 3 to 6 inches. And in our forecast, I don't have the graphic because I already changed it to just show what's to come. But I'm just drawing over it right now. I had this area in here for 6 to 9 inches. And, we're not there yet. I do think that in southern B County, there were some totals. You see that on the estimate, 8 inches. So it did verify in parts of that region, but it was not widespread. It's just, yes, some places did exceed 6 inches of rain. Corpus Christi, we're likely going to get over 3 inches of rain, just given what's going on the radar. Watershed, it could always be better, but I'm thankful for this. It could always be better. It could. We live in a desert. It's a tropical desert, the Wild Horse Desert out here in, west, get west of here. It's just dry. The average rainfall in the watershed, so I've outlined it. This is the precise location of the watershed. This darker color here, that's the Choke Canyon feeder zone, and everything else flows into Lake Corpus Christi. It's the Nueces River and the Atascosa that both feed Lake Corpus Christi. So the watershed's picked up a bunch of rain, and we've seen a modest increase today of about 1%. The week change is 5% up, and that's because 1 week ago the level was at 17%, and then earlier this week it dropped down to like 16.7%. So it's come up nearly 1% just today. It'll probably be higher tomorrow. I don't know how high it's going to get, but this rain is no doubt about it very beneficial. So that's the latest with the totals as of before our 10 o'clock broadcast. There's obviously more rain working our way. And there's the evidence of it. So, the watershed, I'm just going to vamp on this for a second. The watershed is just in a terrible place. It's just what it is, right? So you've got the watershed. It's in a rain shadow, typically, not today. But when I say rain shadow, I'm just really zooming out here. You've got the Sierra Madres in Mexico. Bear with me. And as moisture flows in from the west, right? As moisture comes in, it'll ride up and over the top of the Sierra Madres. It'll rain as the moisture cools and condenses. And then as it comes over the lee side, the eastern side of the mountain range, that air is much drier. So for us to capitalize on rain with any disturbances coming in from the west, we need Gulf moisture coming in, and we got that this time around. We had a lot of moisture in addition to a disturbance coming in from the west, and that's why we're seeing so much rain here in the region the last several days. This might be the grand finale of it with this bow echo. I don't know if we'll see something look this robust tomorrow, but we do have rain in the forecast, really through Friday early afternoon. I'll pull this up very quickly and then get back to the radar. It won't be all rain all the time, but there will be rain floating around South Texas, and it doesn't end until I think early afternoon tomorrow. So that's where I'm at with respect to timing of everything. Get back to the radar. Yes, Kim, orographic lift. That's the meteorological term for moisture going up one side of a mountain range, coming down the other side. But the orographic part of that, the orographic lift would be on the westward side of that mountain range in this case. So that's where that orographic lift would be happening. On the other side, it's the drying, the downsloping winds that dry. So here we are. Let's pause it real time now. And this bow echo is still chugging along. I'm thankful that it's not severe at this point, but it's close. Severe level wind would be 58 miles per hour or greater. I don't like these warnings popping up here. Those are, again, the flash flood warnings for the valley. Take those out. Bye-bye. Now we're nice and clean here on what we're expecting. Oh, another interesting looking feature showing up. Let's talk about it. So I'm starting to see some a gust front or outflow off this leading edge. So this is interesting that it's happening. And you see this line. I'm just trying to really show this arrow. If you're also wondering why I'm looking down, when I look at this camera here, all I can see is a lens. And when I look here, I can see what you're seeing, the monitor. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And I keep my face up here just so you know who's talking to you, right? There's a body here. There's somebody talking. And I think that's important for this type of communication. So this little line is likely, I'm going to just put some arrows on it. I'm going to do something else here, see if I can't. Just switch over to our velocity product. Yes. Oh, it took the lines away. Bummer. Okay, but you can still see it. Oh, this is so cool. Nice. Okay. So where I just had those little arrows right in here, that is a gust front. So it's air rushing out ahead of the main line of storms. And when we see that start happening, so let's say, I'm going to go back to the radar. It's going to reset, I think, on me, so bear with me. Again, usually when we're doing this like on television, it's all nice and neat and I've already got everything organized, but here we're just doing it on the fly, so all the transitions are not going to be as smooth, but this is just cool stuff. So that line, just got another notification. Let me make sure we're all good. Okay, it's not severe still. And we'll look at the wind product here in a second. But this line, that's the gust front. That's the outflow, the cold, rain-cooled air rushing out in front of the storm. So if this line, man, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I'll just put an arrow. This is the line I'm talking about. That's that little radar imagery showing up, those returns out in front of the main line of storms, which right now is moving into Benavides. So if you're in Benavides watching, things are probably starting to rock and roll, 50-mile-an-hour winds moving in. But if that line starts getting out farther, let's say it gets out here, right? That line starts putting some distance between where it is and the actual storms are. You start getting something in, take this away. You'll start getting something in this area called a cold pool. And that would be something that would weaken this line of storms because all of a sudden that gust front's laying down cold air out ahead of your robust thunderstorms, and cold air is not as energetic as, you know, the warmer air that would be there if that gust front weren't pushing out ahead that cooler air. The air's not that warm right now. We're in the 60s, but it's relatively cooler air that's getting pushed out ahead of this feature. So that's something to pay attention to. Also, these storms, I don't like how that keeps popping up, bud. But we can take care of it, those automatic warnings. The storms to the south are also going to undercut some of the strength. Do these get far to the north enough to get out in front of the bow echo? Not sure. It's going to be close. Like, they're going to all converge in here somewhere over like Alice, Kingsville. And we'll keep watching to see how that unfolds. But nothing is severe right now. Water break. Okay, so 35 mile per hour movement to the east, nothing severe right now. When I reference that 35 mile per hour movement, I am talking specifically about this line of storms. That's the bow echo feature. It's not severe, meaning the winds are below 58 miles per hour. Let's look at the velocity. And remember that bookend vortex that's happening up in here, that air is coming around the backside and pushing all of this wind, and that's why the storms are bowing like so. So what I'm doing here now is just trying to check the wind speeds. So the brighter the green, the stronger the wind. All of the wind is moving from west to east. So this is a west wind that is accompanying this line of storms. So I'm trying to sample the strongest sections. There's severe level wind right there in Benavides. A sample from the radar, 64 mile per hour wind showing up in Benavides. So that would be severe level. And again, this is a little bit farther away from the radar. So we're not sampling, when I say sample, what the beam is hitting, that's what I'm talking about with sampling. The beam, where the storms are right now, the beam is hitting them about 2,800 feet up in the atmosphere. So the wind may not be that strong as 64 like we just sampled, but the winds are definitely 50 to 55 in this thing. So again, another sample, again, same spot, 44. So, you know, it may have been just a gust, another 44 mile an hour sampling closer to Concepcion. So it stands to I'd feel comfortable saying there's 50 mile per hour winds in this thing. So that's the wind. Again, we're looking at the velocity product on the radar. Let's check for hail. None. The only hail, in the viewing area was in the 10 o'clock hour. See this gray spot? It was not much, at least according to our software here. Pea-sized hail. Reset. That's the old Channel 3 view of the map here. And there's our bow echo. I'm just hanging out. I'm hanging out right now. Typically, I don't get on this for non-severe stuff. But just given the shape of that, Just going to hang out, see it through as it approaches the coast. It can wax and wane, ebb and flow in its intensity. So over the last 30 minutes, it has not been severe. I'm hoping it stays that way. And like we were talking about a few minutes ago, a couple of things working against strengthening. One is this group of storms moving in from the south. That's going to undercut some of the bow echo. So the most vibrant part of the storm currently is here, Concepcion to Benavides, and then maybe just to the south and east of Freer. That is the part that's got the best environment ahead of it. The only problem with that section of the storm, we'll zoom in terms of strengthening, is that it's got a gust front out ahead of it. And that gust front, right in here, that's the rain-cooled air out ahead of the storm. And that's laying down cooler air, and cooler air is not as energetic as warmer air. So a less favorable atmosphere, especially the further out that colder gust front can get away from the storm. If that stays close, we'll probably not see a ton of weakening. But if it gets out further, then we probably will see weakening. And it's just a real-time thing. It's not anything that I'm going to be able to slam dunk answer. There's just so much going on right now. It's just going to have to be real-time analysis. So that's what I'm going to sit here and do. There's also not a ton of lightning showing up. That's a symptom of the lack of hail production in that storm in particular. It's past my bedtime, partner. Just kidding, I'll stay up. It's funny, one of my wedding vows was to enjoy thunderstorms as long as I'm not in my viewing area. Now you know. Just got another message from the Weather Service. Again, they're just going strong thunderstorm. The same thing we're looking at. So the wind's not meeting that severe level criteria. They're saying just 40 miles an hour on the Weather Service update. Movement east at 35, and it's just the wind threat. We're not talking about hail threat right now. Good news. That's good news. Heavy rain for sure. And it doesn't look like these storms are very tall either. So that also is making sense in the head because there's not a huge hail threat. For hail, you'd need high thunderstorms way up there to get that frozen precipitation. And for a high storm, you need a lot of updraft, a big push of wind in the vertical to suspend that liquid rain, push it up into the frozen part of the atmosphere, and then get hail. Fun fact, the stronger that updraft is, the hail, it'll go up, freeze, come down, get pushed back up, freeze another layer, come back down, and the more that happens, the bigger the hail gets. So you can get baseballs, tennis balls, ping pong ball sized hail up there suspended by wind. Think about a hair dryer, blowing a ping pong ball. It's not, they're obviously different mass, but that's in essence what's happening. So I'm seeing questions that we have been talking about a lot. I'm going to just regroup, pretend like we're all logging on for the same time, and we'll just walk through it again. That's what we do. Let's put this into motion, a 3-hour loop. I'm going to slow the loop down, and I'm going to make it 1 hour. So the time right now on our weather software, 11:41. It is March the 27th. My name is Alan Holt. I'm privileged that I get to talk about weather every day for a living and love that. And we're watching a lot of rain, shower and thunderstorm activity moving in from both the south and the west. The rain in the Gulf is all the stuff that had been moving throughout a lot of the afternoon and most of the night. That's moving away. You see the stuff coming in from the valley. That is also heavy rain, lightning, thunderstorm activity, but far less organized than the bow echo that we have been talking about. So I'll pause this now for real time because I want to time out this line of storms. So we're talking about a bow echo. It's this bowed out structure that's giving it the name. That's why I keep referring to it as such. That reverse C look to the structure of the storm. And you look up top, you see how there's this big mass of rain north of Laredo. The wind is pushing radar returns like so and bulging out that leading edge in Duval moving into Jim Wells County. That's why it's got that shape. That feature that I just referenced, this whole thing is called a bookend vortice. Google it. Let's learn on a Thursday night. So this is how I personally like to time storms. This is me. Everyone does it different, but what I'll do is move the radar back 1 hour. I think this is just the most accurate way of doing it. Put a little arrow on the leading edge of the storm. Put another arrow on the leading edge of the storm an hour later. And then I just hit the wrong button. Come on, bud. Come on, partner. So I've got my distance there, and now I just measure it. And it looks like it's slowed down. 30 miles in 1 hour. So it's slowed down. It was going 35. Now it looks like 30. So let's make an adjustment. I'm going to set the storm track to 30 miles per hour. Get the most accurate reading on the timing of this. You know what? I'm being silly right now. I didn't set it back to the current time. And there we go. And I just made the weather computer get all weird. Okay, here we go. Now we're at current time. Just going to trace the leading edge with our storm track tool. We'll put it all the way to the coast. This is given a movement of 30 miles per hour. And that is the timeline for it. So I'll just leave that up. Just going to digest the information. It's 11:46 right now. We'll go through all of the cities listed. And if you're watching with me, if your city is not on this list, you can see where your city is based on the lines within here. So for example, Orange Grove, right? You got Orange Grove here. You're on the list. That's just an automatic thing. I didn't tell it to pull these cities up. I just have the list for 10 cities, and it arbitrarily picks them for me, a variety. So Orange Grove, 12:41 on the estimated arrival, a little under an hour out, given the 30-mile-an-hour movement. So if you're watching from, say Bishop, can make the assumption that it's going to be to you at around that same time as Orange Grove, 12:41. See Kingsville, 12:31. Go farther south. Let's say you're on one of the western edges of Baffin Bay. Same type of deal. That Orange Grove timeline would be the same for you, around 12:41. So just an easier way to figure that out. Corpus Christi, 1:30. That hasn't changed much. 1 o'clock hour in Corpus Christi. That's the timeline. Sinton, 1:41. Mathis, 1:10 on the forecast arrival, given a 30-mile-an-hour east movement. I'm out of water. I'm going to have to go get some more. See if anyone was in the newsroom. I was trying to give them the old nod to, can you help me? I don't want to shout anybody out. My nod powers aren't very strong, I suppose. Jimmy's got it. He heard it. Jimmy's got it. He's one of our morning producers. You got to come say hi now to the people. No, he doesn't want to. Well, you're involved with CC 7 Day or the Music Fest?
And soccer.
And, so 3 things.
Yeah.
Okay, Jimmy's one of our producers, and he's very involved with, what's your band's name? Yashin Yemi. Do you have a Facebook?
I do.
You can find Jimmy at Yashin Yemi. Is that 2 Y's?
That is.
2 Y's. Yashin Yemi. Go look him up. We've got a lot of musicians here at the studio. I know Zoe, our evening editor, he's in a band called Left-Handed Knives. They actually have a show tomorrow night. The Black Monk might swing by that. Anyway, digression there. Thank you, Jimmy. Sometimes Jimmy will get mad at me because I'd never remember the names of his band. I feel bad because I honestly I sometimes forget things. But back to the storms. Let's check on the wind. We just saw the timeline for them. Let's check on the wind. See where we're at there. We're not missing anything. Wow, this is really interesting to see how this is all panning out. So the wind is this green shade right here. It's all coming toward the radar, which is over in here. You've also got red now over here, and that's wind blowing away from the radar. That is interesting. So that's off that top of that bookend vortex we were talking about. If you recall, saying the rain is wrapping around like this. And that's why it's taking on that vortex structure, that bowed out structure. So moving east at 30 miles per hour. We'll go back to the wind, just to see where we're at on the highest values. Brightest greens, 50 miles an hour. That's about what it's been since we've been on, since we've been watching this. And those straight line winds are right in here, associated with the bow echo. maybe a little something going on, right? And I think we're not going to get a good reading here. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I don't think that's good data. But that's something to look at. Oops, didn't want to do that. Yeah, so interesting feature right in here. That's the area I'm trying to really look at right now. I'm seeing just some little sign of maybe some spin there. Not seeing a warning out right now, but there's a little notch also. So right near San Diego and Alice, that's where I was just sampling, you know, the higher wind right in there. And there are two areas that look maybe a little suspect showing up where you've got perhaps some rotation. Again, nothing is warned right now. There may be something going on right there, though. And, you know, so that's got my attention now. There may be some inflow coming in here. See how the radar is it's got a little notch to it, and there may be some rotation in here. So we're really paying attention to that right there. There may be something right in here. South of San Diego, west of Alice. I'm going to do that scrub the radar thing. Again, this is not warned right now. This is not warned. Jimmy, if need be, can you... Sorry, turn the mic off there to talk to Jimmy. So that area south of San Diego, very curious. That's got my attention for some possible rotation. That's in the area of Alice. You see how it's just moved? So Alice, you know, I would be perked up. You know, you want to be inside. You want to be taking shelter, obviously, with this storm moving in. But that area is suspect. We just got a new scan in, so I just want to see how that's looking. You know, it's showing up. Something is going on right there. I'm not sure. There's no warning, but something right in there's definitely got my attention. Mic is still up. Okay, good. Making sure. You know, that's the area that I'm looking at. Right in there. Doesn't look crazy. Does not look, I mean, I'm looking at it on my radar as well, on my phone. I mean, it's really ragged, but has my attention. It's still there. So Alice, you know, I would say just out of an abundance of caution, that spot I'm looking at is in here. Again, no warning. Not saying that there should be. I'm just saying it has my attention right now. Showing up with, you've got some wind maximum here with some opposing wind adjacent to it. 60 miles an hour, so you know, that's a bit higher, and it's been there for several scans of the radar, a bit higher on the wind moving into Alice. So that would be, if that verified, would be severe level wind. And again, that is a very ragged, it's not clear, but it's something that's looking a little bit different than before. Not gonna dwell on that because I don't want to scare people, but just something that got my attention. That's all. Go back to the radar. And it's just, there's this little notch showing up too. So that's just, there's something right in there. In this area, something is just, it looks different to me. And there is that little tiny wannabe couplet that's showing up. So that's got my attention. It doesn't look great. It doesn't look classic. If there are people in Alice, please, if you got like strong wind, please report that in the comments. It's the best is real-time feedback on these storms. I'm going to go just look and see what the winds are doing right now. Those are the sustained values. Gusts. Up to 35. Go back over to the radar. Okay, got a good question. I just saw it. Jared Berry, how much rain from this line? It's going to move quick, so it's not going to be a long-lasting type of deal. But the rainfall rates are way up there. Just sampling the deepest reds. I mean, you're looking at 4 to 6 inches of rain an hour. This is only over a location, though. So look at Benavides, 11:29 to 11:4, 10 minutes. So, you could get a significant amount of rain, but it's only over a location for about 10 minutes time. So rainfall rate of 4 to 6 inches in 1 hour, you're going to be lower than that because it's not staying in one place for an hour. You could easily pick up a half inch, maybe an inch of rain with this one line of storms. And again, we've got this undercutting effect going on. Where we've got storms moving in from the south in conjunction with this bowing line of storms. So we'll loop it so you can see it. Fascinating radar loop here. It's been a long time. I haven't had to use these tools in a while. Issa Nicole asking, is it true there's rotation between Alice and San Diego? I was really looking at that. You were just seeing it real time with me there's something going on there to my eye. It's not warned. I don't see much on the velocity. I was very curious about that area there. And again, I'm just looking real time. Could there be? Yes. Is it classic looking? No. There's probably some gustier winds in there. I'm seeing 60 mile an hour winds still. I haven't gotten a new scan that's come in yet that I can really see. But when I move this, there's been, it doesn't look like anything to me until there, 11:48 south of San Diego. it doesn't, it's not screaming, but it had my attention. You know, so again, no warning on it. Weather Service is great. They've got meteorologists that their job right now is to make sure they've got warnings up for wherever needs to happen. So I trust that if they're not putting something out, there is not something that is imminently, taking place. I'm not saying this isn't a strong storm, because it certainly is. It's just not to severe level at this time. It's right up on the 281 corridor, Jim Wells County. At last check, it was moving east at 30 miles per hour. Some of these comments are just inappropriate. I wish we could be more mature about this. So it's ridiculous. I hate that. It's the worst part of the job. I'll put it that way. It's the worst part of the job. Some of the comments that come through here. I wish we could be adults. Back to the radar. Right over Highway 281. That's where this line of storms is. It's not looking as impressive as earlier. Well, look how that looked gnarly earlier. At 10:45 or so, as it moves into Hebronville, that look on the storms, this impressive bowed structure looked impressive. That looked healthier. Now, not as much. Not seeing as heavy of rain showing up. It doesn't look as organized as it did perhaps an hour, 2 hours ago. And it's moving east at about 30 miles per hour. So it's heavy rain, lightning, winds 40 to 50 miles per hour. And there could be some small hail. The hail has not been really a thing with this since moving into Texas. Have not seen much, if any at all, showing up on our software. There was a little bit west of Hebronville around 10 o'clock, but nothing since. So the hail threat does not look to be an issue with this right now. Location, I guess someone's watching from not here. Nelson Holder. Location, the states. Yes, this is Texas. That's where we are. Zoom way out. We're looking at Corpus Christi area. Line of storms is moving through, 281 corridor in KIII country. It's not severe right now. This is going to approach the coast by before 2 o'clock, given its current speed. It's getting undercut by showers and thunderstorms that are moving in from the south out ahead of it. So those showers are making the atmosphere a lot less conducive to see this thing maintain really robust strength all the way to the coast, which I feel like is good news. I don't want to see a big, massive storm blow through here. I've seen it happen to where, I can't remember the year, maybe 2015. I don't remember off the top of my head, but one time around that time, we had a bow echo come through. It was on a Friday, and it knocked out power for the whole weekend in some spots. I was working out at Planet Fitness that Sunday after, and there was still no power in the gymnasium there. So, that's why I'm just staying on this, making sure that it's not going to do anything like that. And it doesn't look like it is at this point. Just got another update from the Weather Service. By the way, that rotational aspect that I've been mentioning, it does not look like it's doing anything to my eye now. I'll go back to that. We were really focused on Alice, that area. I don't think there's anything there. Now that we're getting a new scan, I'll move this back and forth so I can just show you how I was looking at it. And that's 11:35, so 40 minutes ago or so. At 11:45, I don't even know what I just said. Anyway, at 11:45, this is about when I started getting perked up. Was looking at this section of the wind field. And at that point, it looked like something. I was still looking at this little area here. This is 11:54 southwest of Alice. And then the newest scan, you see how much that moves from scan to scan. There's nothing there now. I don't see any. There may be some broad rotation, which is not uncommon, not a terrible threat. It just doesn't look like I'm more relaxed now about it. But for a few scans, it looked like maybe something more. I'll look for little notches. Same thing. When I was seeing that show up, there was also evidence on the returns right in here. There was inflow coming in there, and that jived with the wind speed showing up on the velocity. So that's what was getting me, way more tuned into that section of the storm. But as we move forward now, I'm not seeing that little notch of wind pressing the returns more out to the west. So Alice, you're in the thick of it right now, probably getting 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. Okay, Martha Valdez is talking about, I live in the center of Alice's restaurants, just heavy rain right now. Multiple reports of heavy rain. That's great, okay? That's great. It's just heavy rain, so that's good. That's even more of a confident sign that we're not seeing anything too dangerous. Meantime, rain is moving into Corpus Christi. This is out ahead of what now looks like a ragged line of storms. It does not look as clean as it did earlier. Let's pull up tower cam, because I'm seeing questions now about what's going to happen. Ethan's asking about, I think, Soulja Boy. We did a story on that right at the end of our 10 o'clock broadcast. Is that the whip and Nene you're asking about? I don't know. I used to know all those dances, but I don't now. But let's talk about what's to come. Let's talk about that, because we're not seeing anything severe right now, so I'm not going to stay on that. There's going to be passing showers and storms throughout the night. This line of storms may suppress the atmosphere for a little bit, so we might have an extended period of quiet weather. That was showing up in the data earlier. That's why I have, whoops, let me go back. That's the almanac. So that's why I had this lull here. That might still be the case, into tomorrow morning, given what we're seeing right now on the radar. Go pull up our in-house modeling just to see how it looks. It may have updated. I'm not sure. It did update. It did update. No, it didn't. It's just that we're now past midnight. And so now it's set to 3 p.m. Friday. So I'm going to just go in here and adjust it, force it to talk about the current time. This is just how I have my stuff set up. Okay. Nope. So now we're at current time. So I'm looking at this real time with y'all. I have not looked at this yet. So this model is right now saying that at midnight, the bow echo, that line of storms, should be over us. We know that's not the case. It's more to the west. So it's too fast with its placement of what is happening right now. There's the lull. Remember saying, okay, there's probably going to be an extended period of quiet weather. So this all makes sense to me. There's a lull, a 2 to 3 hour lull where we don't see much, and then activity starts to redevelop. That looks plausible. So Friday morning, just a few showers, maybe an isolated storm. This is according to our in-house modeling, and it's still doing exactly what I had been thinking would happen. I love it. I love when the thinking lines up with new modeling, right? So 2 o'clock or so, I think that's the last of the rain. With the upper level energy we've been looking at crossing over us and moving away. Ours is now lingering stuff through 4, 5, and then that's it. Weekend gets warm. Ooh, some fog maybe into Saturday night. You see the numbers go to 0. That's the end of our modeling, our in-house numbers, the ones we put in manually. So interesting to see that. I'm going to just close that out. And I don't want to save it because I don't want to ruin my workflow for tomorrow. Let's go back to the radar. Yeah, those zeros were showing up because I was moving the timeline really fast. Let's regroup. That's what we do. Let's regroup. So time now, 12:14, March the 28th. I'm Alan, work at Channel 3, KIII TV. That's in Corpus Christi, Texas. We obviously have people that don't know where this is, asking, is this in the States? I'm assuming that was a real question. But we're in South Texas. We're following this, which, I mean, you could call this a quasi-linear convective system now, I think, instead of the bow echo. That's just a fancy word for squall line, a line of storms that's moving through a region. So I'm calling it a quasi-linear convective system, a QLCS. It's not severe right now. Winds are roughly 40 to 50 on the gusts. No hail threat. There is some very heavy rain, but the heavy rain is brief because it's moving 30 miles an hour. So that thin line of red that you're seeing, this line of red, that's producing 4 to 6 inches of rain per hour, but locations are only under that for roughly 10 minutes time. So, you know, it's probably closer to ½ inch, maybe an inch worth of rain that people are getting from this because it's got that forward movement of 30 miles an hour. It's now moving into the western edges of coastal counties, western Clayburgh County, Kingsville, you're getting it. Alice is in the thick of it. Zoom this out just a little bit. Mathis, you're not there yet. Orange Grove, you're getting into it. Falfurious, you're almost done with it. It's now moving more so toward Rivera. But it's not severe. It's got gusty wind, lightning, heavy rain, no hail. We'll time it out. The interesting thing about this, you know, a lot of times, all of this will not be out in front of all of this. And that's when you can get these bow echoes that just slam through the region. All of the stuff that is preceding this line of storms coming in from the south is aiding in keeping the line, the quasi-linear convective system, weak, right? So we can thank that rain preceding the line for that. It's cooling the atmosphere, it's suppressing the energy, and the atmosphere out ahead of that line of storms is not as robust. And that's why we're not seeing a strengthening, rather a weakening of that line of storms. I'm going to put a timeline on it. I've done this several times over the course of the last hour plus that we've been on this. And I do it the old-fashioned way. I just see where it was an hour ago and where it is right now, and I just mark the distance. You see how it looked a lot cleaner an hour ago, by the way. A little stronger an hour ago. So we'll just put a mark there. Put a mark there. Measure. Okay, it's back to 35. So it ebbs and flows, right? They can pull stronger, go weaker. They can move faster, slow down. But it's moving about 35 miles per hour. So I'm going to adjust all of my timing software and then put the storm track on it. Get a good view so we can include as many people as possible. By the way, thank you. There's 450 people watching. It's after midnight. Fun times. Thank you for logging on and staying on and watching and just staying up to date. The more people are knowledgeable, the easier my job is. So I'm all about it. Let's track this thing. Put it back up to 35. I had last tracked it at 30 miles an hour. Now I'm going to make sure that the forward speed is at 35. And now I'm going to draw as precisely as I can with my mouse the leading edge of that line of storms. Draw it out. Let's go through Rockport all the way. That's about 2 hours time now. So there's the timeline. Again, I'll just leave this up for a while. While that's up, I'll look at some comments. Good from a great comment from Jan Young. Not bad at all in Alice, just good rainfall. Love to hear that. Another one, Penny Acevedo. In Bishop, we got gusty wind and I just heard thunder. That is a perfect report. Thank you for that. I'm watching from Ricardo, says Brenda Cantu. We just have light winds and rain, but waiting. Thank you. Have the battery ready to go. So yeah, that Highway 77 corridor, Kingsville, imminent, coming in a matter of minutes. Portland showing up on our map here. And again, these are showing up arbitrarily. I'm not telling it to put these cities on. All of these on this list, the program's just doing it for me, getting a wide variety, so you know what to expect. So if you're watching, for example, from Odom, you can trace this line down maybe through Petronilla and kind of deduce that that's going to be about the same time those storms move there, 105. Corpus Christi, 115. Portland, 130. Ingleside, 140. Aransas Pass, 148. And then finally to Rockport, Fulton, a little after 2 o'clock in the morning. These should be to the island area around 1:30. So here's Portland, right? That time's 129. That same line extends down to the island around 1:30. So about an hour out from the island. The island, by the way, already getting some light to moderate rain out ahead of this line of storms. And you can see it's moving. So I'm just going to move that with it. Get a new timeline, which is about the same as before. And I've never even seen Old Hoppy Place. Jimmy, do you know where Old Hoppy Place is? It's in northwestern Nueces County. Hoppe. Learned something new today. So I'm timing this out for the leading edge of this. Another way you could do it is try to figure out, okay, when is that line, the strong stuff, going to be past my location? So you can come back here, put that same line on the back side of these, do the same thing. And in essence, it's about 10 to 15 minutes after we were just looking at. So through Corpus Christi by 1:35, through Driscoll by 12:58, through Kingsville by 12:45. And then behind this, it's a classic symptom of a line of storms. All of this rain right here, that is sleeping weather. Pitter patter, maybe a distant rumble of thunder. That's called trailing stratiform rainfall. That's a classic symptom of a line, a squall line, a bow echo. That trailing stratiform rain behind it tends to be light to moderate, not overly heavy, and you can hear some distant rumbles of thunder. So that's trailing stratiform rain, and that is wonderful sleeping weather. It's that pitter patter, just soothing rain. Nothing is severe on the board. Honestly, what I'm doing right now is just waiting for Carly to come in. She'll be coming in imminently, probably within the next hour or so. So I'm just hanging out here. When it's active like this and we're doing like a changeover in shifts, it can be very stressful to come in and have to forecast, and you've got all of this stuff going on the radar. So just trying to hang out to help bridge that gap. Another severe storm down in the valley. Man, they have just had a run of it today. I'm going to type something up for our socials, put that out. So I'm going to be quiet for a second while I do that. So bear with me. And it's going to be one of these storm track things. So I'm going to be like silent for a second as I type stuff out and put it out. Cue the music. Jimmy, where's the music? No, I'm just kidding. I think we get pegged if we were like playing music. They'll say, hey, it's a copyright, and so I can't do that. Just having fun. We put the storm track on, again, moving east at 35 miles per hour. There's the timeline, and that's what's going to go out to socials. Well, program is not loading. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. All right. March 28th now. I feel like typing is also kind of soothing. Okay, just threw up a little Facebooky post. All right. Back to the live. I appreciate it, Felix. Tell Dr. Tissot I said hello. I don't think he's more geology, subsidence guy, great guy. Okay, so back to the timing of this. Just move it along. And you see Mustang Beach. That would be Port Aransas, Mustang Beach, 146. 149, Port Aransas. 3-minute difference there. Ingleside, 136. Portland, 124. Corpus Christi in the 1 o'clock hour, 110. And Rockport, Fulton, you're a little more to the east because of the shape of the coast, so a little later there, closer to 2 o'clock in the morning. Not seeing hail in this. The wind is not looking as impressive as it did when it was coming into Texas out of Mexico. Let's check on the wind. really not looking impressive whatsoever on the wind. It's looking weaker and weaker. It might even be lower than 40 now on the wind speeds. Yeah. Might be some gustier winds out toward Hebronville, but again, you're getting farther out in range, so that's way up. That's like 5,000 feet up. So not impressed. The wind is starting to really calm down. There could be some gusts up around 40, but wind is really starting to calm down. Just got a text from the Weather Service, and it is for a flash flood warning way down in the valley. So, I mean, the valley has really been just pummeled today. They're still getting severe they've had training severe thunderstorms all day long. Training, so the one that's severe down there right now, that yellow polygon, is for 60-mile-an-hour wind and 3/4 of an inch hail. Training means that the same location is just getting crushed over and over and over. The storms are oriented on an axis, and they're all following the same road over and over and over. And that's when you get the insane totals. The rainfall totals just go berserk when that's happening. Let's look. I mean, let's just look. I'm going to pull up our radar estimates and see how much the radar thinks has fallen down there. Trying to find it in my graphics. I got a ton of graphics here. There we are. Cheerio. Jesse Esquivel, weather tomorrow night should be getting drier. Should be getting drier. Look at the colors. We're off the chart. We need a different chart on our legend, but I can still sample them and you'll see it real. Oh man. Over a foot on the radar estimates throughout a lot of the valley. Wow. Wow. Down closer to Brownsville, less, but Harlingen, Reynosa, La Jolla, big time totals. Weslaco, Foot, Harlingen. These are estimates. These are estimates. They're not confirmed observed data, but wow. That is very impressive. I'm gonna see if I can find some actual readings. Just zoom it out here. And we'll get back to the storms. Nothing severe, not overly worried, but you'll hear some rumbles of thunder here as this line of storms works through. I'm just trying to see, and this will also be good for us because I'll be able to see the rainfall totals that we have here also. So I'm just pulling that data up just to see how it looks. And yeah, I'm seeing McAllen, 8.61 inches of rain. This is a total since Wednesday, so it's not all today. Harlingen, 14 inches. Wow. Wow. Out at the Port Isabel, Cameron County Airport, 10.89 inches. at the Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge. That's over in here, right in this area, that yellow mustard looking color. That Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge, 12.69 inches of rain. Harlingen looks like the highest total that I can see. That's just an incredible amount of rain. And that Harlingen report is at the Valley International Airport. 14.1 inches of rain. That is right in here. Where that yellow, so radar estimate, right? That yellow, that bright yellow, that is pointing it out. We'll see what the radar estimate says. The airport right in there. I mean, the estimate's a little bit higher than the actual reading. Still, wow. Lots of rain there. So yeah, the rain chances, they're going to continue overnight. We will likely see a lull in activity after this group of storms rolls through. And I think we're done with the rain. You know, so we're here moving into the early morning hours. There's a little lull into the morning of Friday. There still could be waves of rain working through. This is a tough one with timing because the trigger mechanism is aloft 20,000 feet up. So it's hard to detail exact timing. I got crushed on social media because it wasn't storming exactly at 6, 7 o'clock this morning. It held off till 11. People were furious that it was just that it was wrong. I'm sorry. We're getting the rain now, though. So the timing of it is not perfect. I would say just in your head, know that it's possible through about 2, 3, 4 o'clock. You say, oh, I have this steep drop. I think by 6 it's done. So, and then I think we're done after that. I'm going to check in on our totals. We were just talking a lot about the valley for good reason. What a day down there. Jeez. Again, I'm going to just put the hour loop on, slow it down, digest the info. I'll leave this running while I start to look at rain totals here. Looks like most of Corpus Christi is up to 2.5 inches of rain. Wouldn't be surprised if we get close to 3 after this line of storms that we're looking at on the radar moves through. Got a report near Ella, E-L-L-A, Ella, in southern Jim Wells County of 6.35 inches of rain. That's just to the west of 281, north of Fremont. Kingsville, 5.63. Falfurrias, 5.57. Mathis, up around 5.5 inches of rain. Carly just came in. See, I told you. 30 minutes or so. What a good forecast. What a good forecast. We text, so I knew. With the rain gear. People that are asking about tomorrow morning, I was going to say they should be dressed like you, but...
Oh, do you want me to...
Yeah. She got the raindrops on the hood. There she is.
What's up? Good morning.
So yeah, this was, I don't know, she's been asleep, so I'm gonna let you get your bearings. But yeah, nothing severe right now. Just this wannabe bow echo.
Yeah.
Looked big earlier, but now kind of.
Yeah, when I woke up, I saw that and I was like, oh.
Yeah, yeah. It would get your attention, yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look anything crazy for us, so.
That's good.
Yeah. I'll hang out here for a little bit. I'm on the Max 2.
The
right
Her
now.
had that feature.
Yeah, ours did too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, talking about how models were depicting this for tonight. Still some severe stuff down in the valley, along with the big flooding concern. You know, those storms down there, a little stronger, 60-mile-per-hour winds, hail in there as well. For us, this line is looking way weak. It's getting close to Highway 77. And remember, we talked about how the storms preceding it, the shower and thunderstorm activity that had been coming up from the valley, was going to undercut the strength of that line of storms. It's exactly what has happened. So it's ragged, but it's good rain working through. So we'll take it. We're going to take it. Not that we have a choice. And then behind it, some nice trailing stratiform precipitation. So it's light to moderate rain, and it's not coming with, you know, much of a threat. So the rain chances continued through Friday morning. Will it look like this the entire time? Probably not. It'll be off and on as we do work through the morning hours. Just trying to take some of this off. This is a fun thing. I don't know if people notice stuff like this, but oh, come on, microphone. I have a little tie clip, and it's a golf club. Huh? Isn't that cool? It's the little things, you know? I put it on, and I'm like a tenth happier. I'll have to let Carly know, Felix, that you were also looking at that. So yeah, the storms, they're moving in, they're closing in on Corpus Christi. Again, we were talking about this. We've been on it for several hours now. This is when it was moving into Texas, crossing the Rio Grande right before our 10 o'clock news. At that point was an organizing bow echo. And it looked really impressive right in here. That hour of time, 9:45 to 10:45, you know, it was like, okay, we've got a strong, it was severe warned at times too. But once it got into Jim Hogg and Duval County, that's about the time that the storm started to get a little bit weaker. And that's also about the time that the stuff coming in from the south, right in here, was beginning to undercut the atmosphere out in front of the line. So that was working against it. It continued to move north, the stuff from the south, as the line of storms moving east toward the coast. And this is where we are currently, real time right now, 12:45 Friday morning. You know, and it's just really a harmless line at this point. I'm surprised 323 people are still awake. Thank you. Thank you, though, for hanging out. It makes it a little more fun when there's some interaction. Big storms down in the valley. Wow. I'm going to switch radars. Switched over to the Brownsville radar just to get a better picture of that. I'm going to take off the warnings just to see it. Wow. Impressive. That's where the strong stuff is. Us, not so much. And I'm okay with that. Back to the Corpus Christi radar. So it's not going to be as impressive. Corpus Christi, not going to be as impressive. It's weakened a lot as it's gotten to Highway 77. And if you've been watching this whole time, that's why I don't like putting super long time tracks on storms, because they change. They ebb and they flow. Is Hav getting out? I hope. He should. He can go. He can probably go now. Yeah. All right, people asking about wind. Let's just see what the current winds are doing before we start looking at the velocity on the radar. Because sometimes wake lows can also develop, meaning the pressure falls a lot after these storms. And so a lot of the wind right now near the coast is onshore flow. Winds gusting as high as 40 miles an hour in Flower Bluff currently. They're sustained. They're breezy off the water, 24, 31, 29. That's an east to southeasterly breeze. That's not associated with the storms. Behind the storms, it looks really quiet with that stratiform precip. So no wake low forming just by looking at the wind field. But let's see what the velocity is showing us here on radar. Again, you get farther out where these purple bands are, you're starting to lose quality. The beam is getting way high, 5,000 feet up or so. And you'll see on the velocity, remember we were just looking at the wind speeds. Let's see what the radar is sampling. 50, 50, 40, 27, 55. Again, so this is a little bit above the surface, and we just looked at what the surface readings are, and it's gusting to 40. So we know that those are not happening at the surface. The winds behind, there's really not much wind at all, honestly, with this, with the line of storms that's moving in. 8, 2, 18. Okay, that's a false reading. That's not legit. This is just clutter. That might be wind farm. I don't know if there's one right there. That's one of the bad things about the wind farm with respect to radar, is that it can clutter up some data. The radar beam's hitting the windmill and it just clutters the data. I'm getting tired. So the wind doesn't look problematic with the storms as they are right now. I'm honest, I'm probably going to get off right now. It doesn't look like it needs my attention anymore. And I've been doing this for several hours. However, if we do need to jump on, we will not hesitate. So I'm going to log it off. I will leave it with the 7-day. I've had this IFB in this whole time. Yikes. Ugh. Well, this is irrelevant now because my 7-day doesn't work for the morning. So that just, we're not doing that. Not going to look at that. All of my graphics are geared to work when I come in the afternoon. So that's how they're all set up with time. So I'm not going to show that. If you want the forecast, KIIITV.com/weather or KIIITV.com/forecast. That's probably the better link, KIIITV.com/forecast. If you want forecast information, that is. We spend a lot of time updating that part of the website. Text, beefy text, lots of graphics, weather video, video forecast, all of that stuff lives there. KIIITV.com/forecast. It is updated multiple times a day by whoever is working that shift. Great resource. It's a catch-all for the forecast, barring any real-time stuff. Harder to update real-time there. But thank you for watching. If you've been on this whole time, I appreciate it. Looks like we're all safe here. Valley, not so much. And if anything changes, we'll be on it. Storms look to move through continued overnight. Could be a lull after this moves out. And I don't think the rain threat really comes down for good, at least with this episode of rain, till probably 2 or 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And then it'll start to really dry up. Weekend looks great, warm and humid, mosquito-y though, maybe by late Sunday. We'll leave it there though. I'm out of here. Thank you again.